University of Buffalo art professor who was charged with mail and wire fraud after the FBI found harmless bacteria used in art displays in his apartment. The judge said the charges against Steve Kurtz were, quote, insufficient on its face. Kurtz was originally investigated for bioterrorism. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. We're on the road in Washington, D.C. I'm Amy Goodman. Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton has kept her presidential campaign alive with a 10-point victory over Senator Barack Obama in Pennsylvania's Democratic primary. She won with 55% of the vote to Obama's 45%. Turnout was heavy at many polling places with an estimated 2 million Democrats voting. That's nearly triple the number who turned out in the past two presidential primaries in Pennsylvania. A partial delegate count from last night's primary gives Clinton a net gain of 10 delegates. Overall, Clinton still trails Obama in both the pledged delegate count and the overall popular vote. But the win gives her added leverage to stay in the race for the 9 remaining contests beginning in Indiana and North Carolina next month. After her victory was announced, Clinton addressed supporters at a rally in Philadelphia.
Here in Pennsylvania, you made your voices heard. And because of you, the tide is turning. We were up against a formidable opponent who outspent us 3-1. He broke every spending record in this state, trying to knock us out of the race. Well, the people of Pennsylvania had other ideas today. You know, the presidency is the toughest job in the world, but the pressures of a campaign are nothing compared to the pressures of the White House. And today, Pennsylvanians looked through all the heat and saw the light of a brighter tomorrow, a tomorrow of shared prosperity and restored world leadership for peace, security, and cooperation. After 7 long years of President Bush, we've got our work cut out for us, and we don't have a minute to waste. So it's high time we stop talking about our problems and start solving them. And that is what my campaign is all about.
On top of her delegate and popular vote deficit, Clinton is far behind Obama in fundraising. Obama raised $42 million last month, doubling Clinton's $21 million. The Clinton campaign says it ended March in debt and is urging supporters to donate. Senator Barack Obama, meanwhile, was already campaigning in Indiana, where he addressed supporters in Evansville.
We have a choice in this election. We can be a party that says there's no problem with taking money from Washington lobbyists, from oil lobbyists and drug lobbyists and insurance lobbyists. We can pretend that they represent real Americans and look the other way when they use their money and influence to stop us from reforming health care or investing in renewable energy for yet another 4 years. Or this time, we can recognize that you can't be the champion of working Americans if you're funded by lobbyists who drown out their voices. We can do what we've done in this campaign and say we won't take a dime of their money. We can do what I did in Illinois and in Washington and bring both parties together to rein in their power so we can take our government back. That's the choice we have in this election. We can be a party that thinks the only way to look tough on national security is to talk and act and vote like George Bush and John McCain. We can use fear as a tactic, the threat of terrorism to scare up votes, or we can decide that real strength is asking the tough questions before we send our troops in to fight.
For more on Tuesday's vote in Pennsylvania, Will Bunch joins me on the phone from Philadelphia, senior writer at the Philadelphia Daily News and author of the blog Attitude.com. Welcome to Democracy Now!, Will Bunch.
Yeah, hi, Amy. Thanks for having me back on the show.
It's good to have you with us. Why don't you start off by just laying out the results, how it broke down, the win of Hillary Clinton in Pennsylvania?
Well, I mean, it's amazing, or maybe it's not so amazing, but it really broke out exactly the way people predicted it was going to break out, the way this whole thing started, which is that geographically, I mean, Hillary Clinton's strongest spots were western Pennsylvania, the Pittsburgh area. She won overwhelmingly, and also the area around Pittsburgh that people tend to call deer hunter country, and she did very well in the central part of the state, which tends to be more rural. And Barack Obama, won Philadelphia, which everybody expected. He won about 90% of the African American vote, and that's a big portion of the Democratic vote here in Philadelphia. He did well in the Philadelphia suburbs, although, and I want to sit down this morning and look at the numbers again. It was a little bit surprising in that some early exit polling suggested he was going to do better in the Philadelphia suburbs than he may have actually done. It looks like at the end of the night that it was actually kind of a split, that they split the Philadelphia suburbs 50-50, and that may explain why Hillary Clinton's final margin was 10%, 55-45, whereas some final polls showed it might be like a 5 or 6% race, and I think the ground that she made up in the Philadelphia suburbs may have had something to do with that. She overwhelmingly won Bucks County, which is an important suburb that's just north of Philadelphia. That is kind of mixed. The lower part of Bucks County is kind of a blue collar, almost urban demographic. So. Which is a strong area for her. Just by demographics, they each played to their strengths. Obama, overwhelmingly won African Americans, and he also did well in areas that have high college graduate populations. Chester County, which is kind of a high-tech upscale area west of Philadelphia, he won, and Hillary Clinton won the areas that were more unionized and more blue collar, and you can't also underestimate senior citizens, because Pennsylvania, as you may know, is the third oldest state in the country after Florida and West Virginia. We have a huge senior citizen population here, and Hillary Clinton won that overwhelmingly. So, given the demographics here, she was expected to win, and she won.
The African American population?
I'm sorry, Amy, what did you say about the African American?
The African American population breakdown?
The African American population in Pennsylvania is about average, or maybe slightly more than average compared to other states. I think it's about in the same 12 to 13% range you find nationally. So, and it's heavily concentrated in Philadelphia, which is why you see big numbers for Obama coming out of the city. Although again, he actually underperformed what some pundits thought he was going to do in Philadelphia. Some people thought he'd get 70% of the vote here in Philadelphia. Actually, it looks like he got more like 65%.
And how does Pennsylvania compare to Ohio, another win for Hillary Clinton?
Well, that's a good question, and actually, I got into that a little bit on my blog this morning, because